Hello everyone. Alright, today's video is going to be about Ascension. And I've talked about this for well over a decade privately and a little bit in writing and now sometimes on video. But we're going to put the correct view or the correct point of reference, as I say, in a new book coming out on April 26th, Rebel, The Spiritual Unleashing. And I talk about point of reference quite a bit. And it's taught to me is the correct view to view all the spirituality, all meditation, insights, realizations, etc., etc., etc. And the correct view or point of reference is a handed down common thread from thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of years of tradition and teachers. And ultimately, it's just a really good base. Okay, so that's point of reference, which comes out again, Rebel, The Spiritual Unleashing, due out in April 26, 2018, which is a 13-year anniversary for me. And so in that, I talk about point of reference. I also talk about Ascension. Okay, Ascension. Ascended. I'm ascended. I'm Ascension. Okay. Here we go. When people talk about Ascension, what they're trying to explain is spirit or something other than practical, factual reality. Okay? They're talking about this magical mystery tour, this wonderment, this incredible amazement, synchronicities are part of that. The Holy Spirit, live your life by spirit, live your life by grace, all these wonderful things, okay? They're aspects. And at some point, you have to make a decision about God or no God yourself, okay? Well, let's call it energy, okay? I call it all, I've used numerous terms throughout the years, but ultimately, let's just call it for tonight the Great Mystery, okay? And the Great Mystery is not a mystery in the sense that this etheric, esoteric, Holy Spirit self, or what people call the soul, and science breaks it down. But if you break down the origin of life and you play the game of where did that come from? Where did that come from? Where did that come from? I came from my mother, I came from my father, I came from here, all my ancestors. And then you can go into the evolution that we came from, species of animal. And then you go, well, the species of animal came from the origins of water or an organism. And the planet came from this, gases and whatnot. But where did the planets come from? Some people say, oh, we came from alien races. Well, where did the original origin of life come from? Okay? And that's the great debate about spirit or God. How did the original origin of life occur? And there's only one answer to this. It's been debated for a long, long time by prolific people. No one knows exactly what or where or how the original origin of life or science has occurred. It's an I don't know. And I'm not disputing science. I'm not disputing religion here. The original origin. You can say, well, we came from galaxies and planets and, the Big Bang Theory. I'm using this as a very general reference. Okay, let's say we came from an alien race 5 million years ago. Esoteric philosophy here, okay? Where did that original spark create? I'm not talking about evolution. I'm not talking about religion. I'm talking about the original spark of life. And there's only one answer. We don't know. So we call it the great mystery. Okay? It's the great mystery. So there's only two possibilities. One, we're not scientifically aware enough to see how it formed, but again, science is born from evolution of intelligence. Okay? So there either is a God or there is no God. Now your definition is what everybody fights for. Okay? The definitions after the moment of the spark of life. The great spark of life of how all the universe and the planets and life forms have been created, no one knows on this planet exactly how and where it occurred. Now scientists can say, they can take it down to very detailed theories, but what created that? And that is the great mystery. Okay, the reason I went into God, no God, which is a whole nother set of videos, is because we go to Ascension. Okay? So in the meditation world, when people feel this energy, this essence, this aliveness, this soul, if you want to call it that, I include all possibilities into it, and then strip it down to just, I'm right here, I'm alive. That's personal. And there's much more to that, how my view of it is. That's how I see it. So then what happens is people say, well, there's a soul. It's this great soul. I'm going to heaven, and I'm not in my body, and what's going to occur is, this is just a testing ground. I suffer through this hellish reality, and one day I die and I ascend. Okay? And meditation practitioners go, well, I'm praying, so I ascend. One day I'll ascend. I'll leave the body, because I'm not my body. Okay? It's a common thing. And now, another point I'm going to make in this about Ascension. Talking about I'm not my body and I can't wait to leave my body is a death wish. Okay, people? It's a death wish. And it's a denial. It's a delusional denial that you are currently avoiding something in your life, or somehow that life truly exists and is, and you create an escapism. Now, the reason why I go into this, because escapism is a big part of Ascension. People pray and pray and pray and pray and pray and meditate, 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 meditate. And they say, one day I'm going to ascend to this beautiful heavens and these mysteries, and there's going to be rainbows and fairies, and there's deities and angelic, and there's going to be God and all my loved ones, and it's going to be just this complete Disneyland Xanadu. Ta-da! Fabulous. And my time on earth was great. Okay. So Ascension is an absolute fantasy in the world of awakened state or enlightenment. I'm going to say it again. Ascension is an absolute fantasy of the awakened state or enlightenment. And it's a simple thing to prove. When you avoid now, right here, right now, right this moment, you escape. And the awakened state is to be more and more and more present into every nanosecond of the moment now. It naturally just happens, and you get into a place, and here's another little pearl on this jam. Whereas for years you have to learn how to remember, then you have to learn to not remember that you always are remembering. It's a very fun little game of the mind that plays. Ultimately, you drop it and you just are here. You breathe, you live. Okay? So when you talk about ascension, basically what you're doing is you're escaping your life, which means you're cheating yourself, which means you're coming out of the moment now, which means you're defying this incredible gift of life, this grace of life, and you're copping out. And you're copping out of fear, out of ignorance, out of denial, out of lack of acceptance for what is. Zen is what is. The awakened state is what is. Enlightenment is what is. Right here, right now. Okay? So ascension is one of the great lies of the meditational path. And it is used countlessly by yogis, yoginis, dakas, dakinis, gurus, masters, life coaches, fairy tale speakers, charlatans run amok with it. Because you don't like that you have to go upstairs and plunge your toilet because it backed up this evening. And your kids are screaming and your rent is late. And so you go, this is horrible. And you go into escapism. This is the ego. Ascension is the ego. Escapism is the ego. It creates stories and it creates seeking. If you seek, you will suffer. If you are suffering, you will seek. Now, I can prove all of this in a single sentence. Right here, right now. Take a deep breath. Hold up one finger and look at it. Are you suffering when you breathe? And are you suffering when you just look at your finger without any expectations? Because when you're in the real moment now, you're not ascended, you're not escaping, you're right here. You rise above all of that fear. And when I mean rise above it, I mean on an esoteric example. You don't rise above it into the heavens, float around with angels and deities. You strengthen yourself to go, boom, okay, I got to deal with this. My upstairs bathroom, the toilet's clogged, and I got to deal with it. It's just a task. Just a task. And the root of this is fear of death. And the root of this is the mind is trained to wander and not be present now. But any emotional issue or tragedy or task or grievance or, again, issue of self. If you take a deep breath and feel your body, and then you just look with your eyes right now, and you have no preconceived judgment or ideology of what that should be, but you just live right here, right now, you will not suffer. Now, you can have years of preconditioned self, which will bring up feelings and emotions and tensions within. And so you have to go through this by learning to breathe and relax in these patterned style of behaviors. Okay, that happens. So you could feel anxiety. You could have just took a breath and looked and all these emotions came up. It's because you've never dealt with them before. You haven't dealt with the totality of yourself. So ascension. Ascension is ego. It's one of the great red flags. When someone talks about ascension, they're talking about heaven. One day I'm going to die and go to heaven and leave the body. Because they haven't honed themselves in to be strong enough to deal with the moment now. And part of dealing with the moment now, you may feel pain, grief, sadness, sorrow, anger, all the emotion. Enlightenment or awakened state embraces all the emotions. Why? I'm not the creator of God, heaven, the universe. It just is. Okay, it just is. They're tools. They're wonderful tools. So in the awakened state, there is no ascension. What happens after you die? Don't know. Don't care. I'm awake. Right here. Right now. When that arrives, I'll deal with it like I am now. Ascension is the unawakened state. It is the story of fairy tales handed down. It is the false narrative of the true embodiment or realization of a beautiful realized self. Peace, everyone.